President Trump has on Friday an extraordinarily important meeting with the President of China, President Xi. The obvious question is, what should you watch for to see how this meeting went? This may be the most important man-to-man relationship in the world between the leader of the United States and the leader of China. It's a tense relationship right now because of some pretty tough things President Trump said when he was candidate Trump about China on the campaign trail. So I'm going to look for four things, 3 T's and an N. The first one is tone. What's the tone of this meeting? Leaving aside the specifics, what's the body language, what's the dialogue seem to be like between these two guys who are going to have to develop a relationship whether they like each other or not, because there are a lot of issues on the table over the next 4 years they have to tackle together. The second issue is trade. What will President Trump say about Chinese trade with the U.S.? In the campaign he talked about some pretty radical steps, including imposing tariffs on Chinese imports in the U.S. to drive down our trade deficit with the Chinese. A lot of his advisors are saying that's a little too incendiary. Use the traditional channels like the World Trade Organization and file some complaints about China, tone down the trade fight a little bit. We'll see if that happens when they two get together. Third T is Taiwan. Will Taiwan come up? It certainly will. Will it be discussed publicly? That's very touchy because President Trump, when he was still president-elect, said in an interview with the Wall Street Journal he was perhaps going to reconsider the one China policy, the U.S. Policy of longstanding that says we recognize only China and the government in Beijing as the true representative of China, and maybe would open the door to recognizing Taiwan. That's an extremely sensitive subject for the Chinese. They reacted very badly to that. President Trump has pedaled back on that since he said that in the interview with us. We'll see how they handle this issue down in Florida. Fourth issue, the N issue, is North Korea. This is a very big one right now because the North Koreans continue to fire off missiles, nuclear-capable missiles in some case, or at least potentially. This is very provocative and clearly a challenge to the new president. He wants Chinese help in confronting the North Koreans, telling them to cool it, particularly wants the Chinese to impose some sanctions on companies or individuals that cooperate with the North Korean nuclear program, and maybe want the Chinese to do more to shut down access to international financial markets. So those are the four big issues. Two wild cards in the deck. One is climate change. You know, President Obama and President Xi did a lot of work together on climate change. That's not an issue that President Trump is nearly so taken with as President Obama was. Do they get into that at all, or do they simply leave it to the side? And finally, last wild card, South China Sea. How much confrontation is there between these two guys on both the islands and the claims that the Chinese are making in the South China Sea that really have shaken up a lot of American allies in the region? So it's clearly a full plate. We'll see how many of these issues get dealt with and whether they get dealt with publicly or only privately down in Florida.